हा विषय मी घेणार आहे. सो आय एम गोइंग टू टेक स्ट्रक्चरल मेकॅनिक्स सब्जेक्ट अँड देन I will continue with the you can see the syllabus here. तर त्याच्यामध्ये दोन पार्ट आहेत. देर आर टू पार्ट फॉर दी गेट. तुमच्याकडे दिसतंय का बघा, झूम मोबाईल आडवा पकडा, त्याच्यातून यू विल सी इट इफेक्टिवली आणि यू कॅन सी दिस with one. So I request all of you to switch up your videos so that नेट थोडं वापरायला दुसऱ्यांना कमी लागेल. तर सॉलिड मेकॅनिक्स हा पहिला पार्ट आहे. त्याच्यामध्ये आपण जे व्हॉट वी हॅव स्टडीड इज बेंडिंग मोमेंट, शिअर फोर्स इन स्टॅटिकली डिटर्मिनेट बीम, सिम्पल स्ट्रेस स्ट्रेन रिलेशनशिप, थिअरीज ऑफ फेल्युअर, simple bending theory, flexural and shear stress, shear center, uniform torsion, buckling of column, combined direct bending stresses. मला वाटतं अपार्ट फ्रॉम शिअर सेंटर सोडून आपण बाकी सगळं शिकलेलो आहोत आपल्या सिलेबस मध्ये. तर पहिल्या फेज मध्ये आपण सॉलिड मेकॅनिक्स पार्ट कव्हर करणार आहोत आणि जसा वेळ मिळाला तर आपण स्ट्रक्चरल अनालायसिस हा पार्ट कव्हर करणार आहोत. अँड फॉर्च्युनेटली बिकॉज ऑफ चेंज्ड सिलेबस तुमच्या सेकंड इयर पर्यंत सगळाच सिलेबस या दोन्ही युनिट मधला बऱ्यापैकी कव्हर झालेला आहे. काही गोष्टी ज्या शिकलेल्या नसणार आहेत त्या आपण नवीन आपल्या सिलेबस मध्ये कुठल्या गोष्टी नव्हत्या हे मला माहित आहे, त्यामुळे मी त्या नवीन गोष्टी थोडासा जास्त भर देणार आहे. त्यामुळे त्याची जर कळलं नाही तर त्याची काही काळजी करू नका, थोडंसं ऍडिशनली झाल्यानंतर वाचलं तरी चालेल. आपण पहिला पार्ट आपण या सिलेबस पेक्षा आपण जाताना म्हणजे या पद्धतीनं जाणार आहोत की जेणेकरून आपल्याला आपण जे वर्गात शिकलो त्या पद्धतीने आपण जाणार आहोत. तर पहिला आपण सिंपल जो युनिट 1 होता त्या इंट्रोडक्टरी पार्ट वरचा त्याच्या पद्धतीने जाणार आहोत. क्विकली जे छोटी थिअरी पार्ट आहे तो मी कव्हर करायचा प्रयत्न करतो. What is strength? As you know, strength is ability of a part or element of structure to resist a failure. आणि स्टिफनेस इज रेजिस्ट डिफॉर्मेशन. ह्या दोन मधला आपण गफलत करतो मोस्ट ऑफ द टाइम्स इंटरव्ह्यूला गेल्यानंतर, गेटला गेल्यानंतर. स्ट्रेंथ ही मटेरियल प्रॉपर्टी आहे आणि स्टिफनेस ही सिस्टम प्रॉपर्टी आहे. म्हणजे आपल्याला स्ट्रेंथ डिझाईन करायची असेल एखाद्या मटेरियलची तर यू विल हॅव टू डू मटेरियल कॉम्बिनेशन, म्हणजे मटेरियलचं केमिकल कंपोनंट्स चेंज करायला लागतील, त्याचे हीट ट्रीटमेंट चेंज करायला लागतील आणि बऱ्याचशा गोष्टी यू विल हॅव टू चेंज दॅट पार्ट. वेअर एज स्टिफनेस, once you select the material, you have to change the geometry to and boundary conditions to change the stiffness. तर तो फरक आपल्याला समजून घेता आला पाहिजे. सो आय रिपीट वन्स अगेन, स्ट्रेंथ इज resistance to failure, whereas stiffness is resistance to deformation. म्हणजे काय असतं की स्ट्रेंथ मध्ये आपल्याला मटेरियल फेल होतं की नाही याचा अंदाज येतो आणि स्टिफनेस मध्ये मटेरियल डिफॉर्मेशनला किती रजिस्ट करतंय याचा अंदाज येतो. पुढचं जाऊया आपण अझम्पशन्स मेड इन स्ट्रेंथ कॅल्क्युलेशन, तर किंवा अझम्पशन्स ऑफ इलास्टिसिटी म्हणतात याला. तर तुम्ही बघू शकता की मटेरियल ऑफ अ बॉडी हॅज अ सॉलिड अँड कंटिन्युअस स्ट्रक्चर, तर ते पहिलं अझम्पशन असतंय. आणि देन सेकंड अझम्पशन इज विदिन लिमिट्स ऑफ द पार्ट बॉडी ऑफ द मटेरियल इज होमोजिनियस अँड आयसोट्रॉपिक. म्हणजे आपण हे अंडरलाईन केलेला पार्ट इथं जो बघताय तो होमोजिनियस आणि आयसोट्रॉपिक हा शब्द इथं लक्षात ठेवायचा आहे. इन द फर्स्ट पार्ट मटेरियल इज कंटिन्युअस, ते लक्षात ठेवायचं आहे. मग व्हॉट इज मीन बाय होमोजिनियस आणि आयसोट्रॉपी? बऱ्याचदा आपली गफलत होती या दोन डेफिनेशन मध्ये की होमोजिनियस आणि आयसोट्रॉपी मध्ये काय फरक आहे. तर एकसंधता इन मराठी व्हॉट वी कॉल इज युनिफॉर्मिटी ऑफ material distribution is nothing but homogeneity. So a body is said to be homogeneous if it has identical properties at all points in identical direction. आणि isotropy is related to direction आणि डिरेक्शन ऑफ इलास्टिक प्रॉपर्टी म्हणजे कुठल्याही डिरेक्शनला मटेरियल पुल केलं तर त्या सगळ्या डिरेक्शनला त्याची जर यंग्स मॉड्युलस आणि पॉइझन्स रेशो सेम असतो. मग तुम्ही म्हणणार बदलणाऱ्या प्रॉपर्टी आहेत का? यस, देर आर टू अदर मटेरियल्स. वन इज कॉल्ड, तर तुम्ही बऱ्याच गोष्टी, बरेच डिस्कशन तुम्ही पेन पेपर घेऊन लिहून घ्यायचंय, कारण मी माझ्या अनुभवातून या गोष्टी मी तुम्हाला सांगणार आहे. सो Soniji, I will accept your part. I will talk in Hindi or English only. Thank you. Most of the things what I will cover is based on my experience. So I will request all of you to please take pen and paper and write down the pointers also, apart from what is written here. Whatever my brain suggests will come out, and then it will be useful. तो आपको पेन पेपर लेके जो जो अलग मुद्दे इस पेपर से या आपने कहीं सुने नहीं है, so you can note down. So what I was trying to tell you is isotropic. Along with isotropic, there are two other type. One is anisotropic, opposite to isotropic. Anisotropic means in each direction the elastic properties will change, and then simplified version of anisotropy is called as orthotropy. So the material properties will be in a perpendicular direction, two different material property. So what is the example? Wood can be considered as an anisotropic material, and composite material can be considered as a orthotropic. So what is composite material? In composite material, fiber direction Young's modulus is different, and perpendicular to fiber direction Young's modulus is different. So next property is the principle of superposition is valid. It's a very important property. When we were studying for the examination, university examination, all these smaller pointers are were not important, but when we study for the competitive exams, you have to understand this deepness or this nitty-gritty. So what is that? It is valid only when deformations are small as compared to dimensions of the body, and deformation is linear function. So when principle of superposition is valid, when there is a linearity. To tell you example, suppose 2x is equal to 10. So what you get, x is equal to 10 divided by 2, that is 5 answer. So what you can split this equation into two equation. One is called as 2x1 is equal to 5 and 2x2 is equal to 5. So you will get x1 is equal to 5 by 2 and x2 is equal to 5 by 2. And if you add x1 plus x2, again you will get 5. But if you change this equation, that is 2x square is equal to 10, this principle will not be valid, because now linearity is not there, non-linearity is there. So you can, whatever pointers I am telling, good habit is you should know these keywords and search in Google. You will get initial reading about these words from the Wikipedia, and that's how I learned a lot of things. And once you generate interest, you should read the advanced book. Next is Saint Venant principle is valid. We have also studied the Saint Venant principle. So how this Saint Venant principle works, you know that at the end how this load is applied, that is not important, but apart from the boundary side, if you go little away, so the collective effect is same. Next we will study the point called as a stress. So you all of you know stress is nothing but force divided by area, but most of the times when we say stress, what comes in your mind is force divided by cross-sectional area. But please remember, stress, this stress is called as axial stress. As we discussed earlier, there are two main types of stresses. One is called as you know, one is called as normal or direct, and another is called as a shear stress. One is called as normal and direct stress, and another is called as shear stress. So the normal stress is of two types. One is tensile or compressive, and shear stress is given here. You can see this is shear stress also has the formula force divided by area, but please understand here the this area in normal stress, this area is called as cross sectional area. So once you understand what is the meaning of cross sectional area, what is cross sectional area? Cross sectional area is area perpendicular to the applied force. What is cross sectional area? Area, earlier you might have studied definition of stress, but now I am giving it a different angle. The cross sectional area is nothing but area perpendicular to the stress is a cross sectional area. And what is this area in the shear stress? You understand this area is not nothing but area along the applied force or along the body. For example, if we take a pile foundation, at the bottommost part of the pile is a cross-sectional area, and the skin part of the pile is nothing but the area which will help to resist due to shear stress, and the bottommost part will help to resist through the direct stress. So please understand that. Apart from this normal and direct stress, there are two other stresses we have to understand. One is bending stress, then there is a shear stress due to torsion, and in the bending there will be two stresses again. One is bending stress, and then another is stress due to shear force. So in the bending stress, you will see sigma is equal to m by z, and here this formula is f by a. So that difference you have to understand. Again, this m is component of force, whereas z is component of geometry. You have to remember that. So these stresses again can be classified as based on the applied force. What you should ask when someone asks what is the formula of stress, you should not answer immediately. You should ask whether it is due to axial force, whether it is due to bending, whether it is due to torsion, or whether it is due to shear force. So these are the four types. You can say axial will create you can say normal stress, shear stress will create shear, bending stress will create normal, and torsion stress will create again shear stress. So that you have to remember the difference. Let's go to strain. As you know, what is the definition of normal strain? Again, the way we have two types of strain, one is normal stress and shear stress. Similarly, for strain also there are two types. One is normal or direct strain, and another is shear strain. So the direct strain is nothing but change in length caused by normal force in its direction, whereas in the shear strain it is a tangential, in case of tangential force, change in angle. So shear strain is calculated based on the change in angle. So you can see here this bottom part is fixed one and load is applied here, and that's why body will get deformed in this direction, and this angle will help us to calculate the shear strain. Next, one more strain is there, that is called as volumetric strain. And what is volumetric strain? It is nothing but ratio of change in volume to the original volume. It is nothing but change in volume to the original volume. Further, we have studied Hooke's law. As you know, what is Hooke's law? Stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit. So the next part is also very important, that is within elastic limit is very important. What is that? Stress is directly proportional to strain within elastic limit, and strictly speaking up to limit of proportionality. So again, you have to understand two different things are there. One is limit of proportionality, another is elastic limit. So instead of within elastic limit, actually it is limit up to limit of proportionality. What happens after limit of proportionality? and the material will be elastic, but it will not obey the Hooke's law. What is mean by elasticity or obeying the elasticity property? That is, when we apply force on the body gets deformed, and when we remove the force, it regain its original shape. That is called as elasticity. And what is Hooke's law? Stress is directly proportional to strain. So that means stress strain relation must be linear. Sometimes elastic property may be there, but Hooke's law will not be obeyed. Means what? After limit of proportionality, once we remove the force within elastic limit, it may regain its original shape. There will not be any residual stress in the material, but it may not obey Hooke's law. What is meant by it may not obey Hooke's law? It will look little curved one, and that's why there will not be linear relation. Let's go to next important point. Lot of question comes in various competitive exam, not only GATE, but MPSC, UPSC. So this part, though for university examination, it is for just 2 to 10 mark or 5 marks sometimes. This chapter is very important from the competitive exam point of view. And that's why you should remember, you should read little bit material related books also, because we are structural engineer, mostly metallurgy, mechanical people, they are quite conversion with material component like carbon and steel and all this part, but we are not that, but it's good to study that part. So basically when we take a material from the structural point of view, there are two types of materials. One is ductile material and another is brittle material. So what is meant by ductile material or ductility? When we will see go in, when you will go in final year, there is a separate chapter in earthquake engineering about the ductility. So what is, if you can see in this diagram, so beyond ductility will be important beyond what you call yield limit. Within elastic limit, ductile material and brittle material behave same. Please understand that part. So where is the difference in ductile and brittle material? Most of the people don't understand that. That the difference in ductile and brittle material starts beyond yield limit. Oh, so what happens in this? So that is from the starting point to up to this thing failure. How long it prolongs? That means the ductility. So as it takes lot of time for the failure, that kind of material is ductile, and such material is good for what? Earthquake type, so that it absorbed as much amount of energy. So the crude or thoda sa simple language, if you have to understand, there is something called as a strain energy. If I don't know, for your syllabus strain energy part was removed, so I suggest all of you to read little bit about strain energy and energy part. We will cover sometimes in this advanced study sessions separately. So strain energy is nothing but area under the stress strain curve. So if you see within this elastic limit, so this part is strain energy. Suppose if it breaks suddenly, that is a brittle material, but it has prolonged so much up to this part. So you can see this much amount of area is increased. So material's capability to absorb energy has increased, and that's where it helps whatever earthquake energy get introduced in the structure, that energy has to be released without creating or we can say by doing minimum damage to the material. So ductile material is one having a relatively large tensile strain up to the point of rupture. So that's the definition. And as I told you, you can see this curve get failure get prolonged. There is no sudden failure, and that's why there are various phases of this. You can see it starts from here, and then when we are keep on applying load, it behaves in an elastic manner up to point E. So this E is called as elastic limit. Before that comes the limit of proportionality. What is limit of proportionality? up to limit of proportionality, Hooke's law is obeyed. Between P and E, material is elastic, but it won't obey Hooke's law. It will not be linear. The stress strain curve will not be linear, and that's why Hooke's law is not obeyed. Hooke's law is not obeyed, that you have to understand. So up to P, so the elastic limit is followed, and that's why you can understand that this and thereafter after E, you can see you get first you get upper yield point, and then you get the lower yield point. YL is lower yield point, YU is upper yield point, and if we continue, S is the ultimate stress. What is ultimate stress? So this is the highest stress, and then there are two phases. So this part is three phases in fact in this curve. This part is called as a elastic phase, then this part is called as uniform plastic elongation, and thereafter neck formation takes place. So what happens if you have done the what you call UTM test of rod, then you can understand that this neck formation phenomena, and then last B point is called as a rupture stress or breaking stress, where the material actually fails. Okay, so this is what is explained here. So I will skip this part. Already we have discussed this. Then in this we have seen this earlier was related to mild steel. Now little bit description is there for the tar steel. Like for tar steel and aluminum do not have any specific yield point. So please understand, for some material it is very difficult. There is no specific yield point, and in that case what we need to get is called as a proof stress. So it is called as a proof stress. And how do you decide? It is nothing but when it crosses the 0.2% of strain point we take. So here I will read this part, you will understand. A line is drawn. This is very important. Sometimes on proof stress question will be asked. A line is drawn on the stress strain diagram parallel to initial linear part of the curve, but is offset of some standard amount of strain. This is 0.2% of residual strain is taken, and such line is drawn to cut it here, and this is what you get called as a proof stress, where we are not getting the yield stress. Then we will understand brittle material. So what is brittle material? You can see here, material that fails in tension at relatively low values of strain are classified as a brittle material. So you can see a brittle material will not have lot of phases, what you have seen in the mild steel. So here it fails suddenly, and you can see within elastic limit it behaves in a similar manner as that of the your ductile material. So we'll go to next point. So here there are lot of definitions. When I will share material, you can read. We have discussed about elastic material, plastic material. So this is new for you. I will read this part. A material which can undergo permanent deformation. So beyond this thing, elastic limit, it behaves in a plastic manner. This property of material is known as a plasticity. This property of material is known as plasticity. So you have to understand that. Then proportionality, we have seen. Endurance limit is maybe new term for you, or fatigue limit. So the greatest stress applied infinite number of times that a material can take without causing failure, known as endurance limit. So this is one is like a continuously we apply the load like UTM, where we go to the yield limit. But we have to understand the another way of failure that is called as a fatigue limit, fatigue. So in that we don't apply the high amount of force till the stress goes to the this thing, yield stress. So we apply less amount of stress, but we apply it in a cyclic manner. You in your childhood, you might have tried to break the aluminum wire or maybe steel wire by doing a repeated amount of cycles. So there we are not pulling to make that material to fail, but we are applying less amount of stress in a cyclic manner, and that phenomena or that kind of failure is called as a fatigue limit. And there is a yes versus N curve. Yes stands for the amount of stress applied, and N stands for number of cycle. And as you can guess, as stress जितकी stress कमी आहे तितके number of cycle काय लागणार, जास्त लागणार. So you will see the curve in a decreasing manner. So as the applied stress in this fatigue case is less, the number of cycle will be high. But when the applied stress for the fatigue is high, then number of cycles are less. So that you have to understand. Means what? In a working manner, for example, you might have seen breaking up your cycle chain or vehicle chain. What happens? We are daily applying the rotations down that chain, and then fatigue kind of stresses come, and then that fatigue stress gets accumulated, and slowly one day it fails. So that is called as the endurance limit. And that's why when testing, how do you decide warranty, for example phone or material, in that kind of this kind of fatigue? So people estimate generally regular kiti load yeto in the usage, and it based on that that number of cycle they apply, and then they decide the what you call limits. Okay, this is one more definition you should remember, that is called as a strain hardening. So you have seen one graph, it was going down and the dotted line was going up. So the in some material, instead of this graph going down, it start going upward direction. So that phenomena is called as a strain hardening. The increase in strength of material after plastic zone due to rearrangement of molecules of material is called as a strain hardening. So this is sometimes useful phenomena, so you have to understand that. Next, you have already studied, we are brushing this, and then immediately we'll start question answer solving. What is factor of safety? It is defined as follows: the yield stress divided by working stress for the ductile material. There are two different definitions you have to understand. One definition is for the what you call ductile material, another definition is for the brittle material. So for the ductile material, it is yield stress divided by working stress, where you will able to find out exactly yield stress. Whereas in case of brittle material, ultimate stress divided by working stress. Why factor of safety is required? And with respect to that, there is a margin of safety. Because sometimes like especially in civil engineering, there is a faulty work or some unknown phenomena, a lot of uncertainties are there. So these uncertainties are taken care by factor of safety, and that's why factor of safety will be high for where there is a no manufacturing of product in the factory or controlled environment, to be specific. If the manufacturing is not in the controlled environment, then factor of safety should be high. And like as you know how we make concrete, sometimes people don't measure properly water cement ratio, sometimes they don't measure properly what do you call moisture of coarse aggregate and fine aggregate. In that case, there creates a problem. And then sometimes after construction we come to know there is a strength is quite high, and sometimes we need to estimate the margin of safety, because if we have to see in unfortunate events like earthquake, or sometimes in if sudden load comes, or you should not do unplanned manner, but some people want to construct one more story, etc. There you have to understand margin of safety. So how do you do that margin of safety? One is the kind of here in ideal case up to yield limit, it will, if this yield stress by yield stress, then it will come as a 1. But factor of safety minus 1 is nothing but margin of safety. So that's here. Then ductility we have seen. So ductility versus malleability is also another phenomena. So what is malleability? Like the plastic response of material to tensile force is known as a ductility, please understand. And then the plastic response to compressive force is known as a malleability. So you can see after first failure up to final failure, whatever we see is a ductility, and malleability is under the compressive force. What is the response is called as a malleability. The elongation and reduction in the area of the test piece tested to the failure tension are generally taken as a measure of ductility of material. Creep is another very important phenomena, because especially in the soil mechanics, creep phenomena becomes important. The long-term deflection due to sustained load means, for example, if we construct a building, uh, whether load changes in a building, assuming that people are not moving all the material, furniture, etc., you have considered. So the dead load, ignore about wind load and earthquake load, dead load remains constant. But you will see because of the creep phenomena, there will be settlement in the foundation, etc. So that's why we have to take care of foundation properly. If settlements are there, initially you'll get hair crack, and then big crack also may occur. So that phenomena is called as a creep. That is, your force is constant, force is constant, still deformation over a period start taking place. When we draw the stress strain curve, that time we don't take time into account, it's an instant phenomena, whereas in the creep it is related to time dependent phenomena. So what happens is, over a period, deflection start. uh, in that case, what happens, you can see force is constant, means in the stress strain curve, what is constant? If you can see here, uh, force is constant means, what is constant? Force divided by cross sectional area, that is stress remains constant, whereas the strain keep on increasing. Means in the stress strain phenomena or stress strain format, how we can say, under the constant stress, strain will keep on changing. Under the constant stress, strain will keep on changing. So let's go to next point. Now we have finished the initial theory part related to this part. So now quickly we will start taking question answers related to this. So in this few questions, already answers were marked. So some of the things, if you don't know, you can note down. Some of the things you should remember. This is theory related part. Where you don't understand, you write me a mail or send me a personal message. I will reply you a little bit explanation related to that. And if we get some interesting question next day session, or I will send answers on the group also, so that everyone gets benefited out of the question asked by you. So please don't send question on the group. You right click on my name and send in the personal, in the WhatsApp group, so that I will answer in the group, so that disturbances will not happen. Okay, so first question, we will take the stress at a point is a vector, scalar, or tensor. So it is called as a tensor. You should understand the answer is tensor. A strut, you might have seen the strut member, which is a primarily subjected to strut member, the one of the component of what do you call, truss is called as a strut. So it is primarily comes under axial compression. Okay, and then shear strain. How do you define the shear strain? We have seen the like shear strain, change in angle between the planes at right angle. So we have, you have seen, like, maybe let me draw quickly. So if you see, it was like this, and initially if your block is something like this, it is fixed at the bottom, and if you apply force here, something like this, so it gets a deformed something like this, right? and this strain is nothing but change in angle, this theta, change in angle between this plane and this plane is nothing but shear strain. And what is the next question? We will go, the property of material by which it can be beaten or rolled into plates. Please don't get confused here. Sometimes people get confused with ductility, but the answer is malleability. Answer is malleability. And then you can let us go to next question. Which of the following is the normal stress strain curve for the mild steel? If you remember, there is a chance that you get confused. This B curve and C curve almost look same, but you can see here strain hardening takes place, whereas in mild steel strain hardening won't take place. That's why answer is C. So then we will go to this sixth question. The stress based around the actual area of the cross section during tension stage of the mild steel specimen is called as, please understand, one is called as a nominal stress. What is nominal stress? P divided by A, cross sectional area. But there is a something called as a true stress. What is true stress? Actually, when we elongate, there is a neck formation, or the area start reducing. Under tension, area start reducing. Under compression, cross sectional area start increasing, and that's why the answer will be true stress. Answer will be nothing but true stress. It is called as, yes, some of them are ticking on my answer, so you can use annotation. If you want, you can answer before I give answer. That will be good, so that it will happen, interaction will happen. Good. Some of you are using notation. There is called as annote option, and you can click. Next question. But before I read a question, please don't answer, otherwise others will lose interest. Which of the following is considered as a true characteristic of yield stress for a mild steel? So there is a proof stress, ultimate stress, upper yield point, and lower yield point. From this group you can understand. So there will be I guess answer is lower yield point. Answer is lower. Yes, some of you have answered correctly. Very good. So lower yield point is the correct answer. Lower yield point is the correct answer. So I request those who are joining again, so they should mute their audio. Oppo A33F instruction for you. Okay, let's go to next question. Okay, for mild steel, the lower yield point is more significant than the upper yield. Just now we saw the answer. Mild steel characteristic is nothing but lower yield point. So why this lower yield point is important? That is the question. So strain is more at this point. It is less than upper yield point. It is less affected by the shape of the section. So answer, you can understand, maybe the answer may be C. That is, it is less affected. Yes, so answer is, it is less affected by the shape of the section. Okay, let's go to the next point. That is maybe what is the gauge length to be used for the condition, the gauge length to be used for the condition a tension generally function of. So here this question you understand, that is the diameter of the bar. So that where the tension is a function of diameter bar, their gauge length becomes important. Then next is factor of safety. So what is factor of safety for the ductile material? As we have seen, yield stress to working stress. So where we have discussed a lot, I will be going quickly, so will not, just you understand. Variation of strain of a material at a constant stress. Tell me answer. if you have understood theory. I will wait for 2 minutes. It's a very simple. Variation of strain of a material at a constant stress. I said force was a constant, but strain was increasing. Very good. The answer is creep. Answer is creep. Correct. So next, the ability of material to absorb large amount of energy. I have explained the things by using the stress strain curve. So the answer is toughness. So this is a different answer as compared to ductility. We'll see why answer is this. Then let's go to the material which undergoes no deformation till its yield point. This we have not studied. So little bit I will focus on this part maybe by drawing. So okay, so material which undergoes no deformation till its yield point reached and then follows the constant stress path. So let me draw the how it looks like. So up to yield point, it won't deform and suddenly it will start following something like this. So such material is either elastic plastic, rigid plastic, or non-plastic or non-plastic. So answer is, I guess, B, rigid plastic. So initial part was rigid. If it would have been something like this, then it is called as elastic plastic. So initial part will behave like a elastic and then it will be plastic. So some of you have given answer correctly. So that is the correct answer, rigid plastic. Let's go to next question. Please, all of you, mute your voice. Okay. So next we will go to the next question. For a metal which do not have well-defined yield point. Now this is very simple answer. ज्याचा yield point well defined असतो, we call that as a proof stress we use, and it is determined by proof stress by drawing a line parallel to initial tangent at offset of how much, 0.2%, 0.5%, 1.0%, 2%. What is the answer? Quickly, very easy. Okay. Yes, some of you have given correct answer. That is the 0.2%, yellow line. Okay. Next, let's go to 15 number question. Loaders lines on steel specimen under simple tension test is a direct indication of yielding of material due to slip along the plane. So this is little difficult question. So the lines on steel specimen under the simple tension test. So can you guess? I guess it may be the maximum shear stress. So these lines form because of maximum shear stress. If you study the failure of material in detail, you will come to know. If you don't, you time being you remember this if it comes in the exam. So next question is very easy. From the by looking at the diagram, neck formation phenomena. When mild steel specimen fails in a tension test, fracture looks like how it looks like for the mild steel. So this is like a brittle failure. This yes, C is the answer. Correct. So answer C. Okay, let's go to the 17th question. As soon as the external force causing deformation in a perfectly elastic bodies are withdrawn, the elastic deformation deforms only partially, completely over a prolonged period of time, completely and instantaneously, and is completely after an initial period of rest. So what is the answer? Please understand. Tell me the answer. Try, guess. Yes, the green pen. Answer given by green pen is correct one. That is completely and instantaneously is the correct answer. Let me clear annotations so that we will have next question. So what is next question? That is the for engineering materials Poisson's ratio. We have not discussed much about this, but see if you can guess. Poisson's ratio lies between, so it is correct. Those who have answered 0 and 1.5, please understand maximum Poisson's ratio is 0.5. When we will see the elastic constant, that time you will understand why it cannot be more than 0.5. So I will prove you in the equations. Okay, so maximum answer is 0.5. So let's go to question number 19. Question number 19. In comparison to Shaheen Sheikh, Shraddha Survase, Vivek Masal, please mute your audios when you rejoin again. As I am using annotations, I am not able to control mute. Everyone, please check. You should mute audio when you enter, as long as we will not keep it open for question answer. Okay, so 19th question. In compression test on mild steel, necking, what is the answer? Necking does not occur. Hooke's law is not valid. Hooke's law is valid beyond yield point. Ultimate stress is more than the failure stress. So what is the answer? In compression stress on mild steel, let's see what is the answer. So answer is necking does not form. So you can, if you have noticed, in case of tensile stress, necking forms, but in case of compression, necking will not get formed. Okay, let's go to the next part, 20th question. So once we finish theory part, I will ask you to talk maybe before I go to the next part. So 20th question. For most brittle material, generally ultimate strength in a compression is much larger than the ultimate strength in the tension, because, can you guess? This is related to metallurgy part, but it will be asked in civil engineering also. So what is that? Tensile, yeah, as compared to tensile, compressive strength is more. So what is the reason? Let's see the answer. Answer is flaws such as microscopic cracks or cavities get compressed, and that's why strength increases as compared to tensile one. Let's go to 21. Which of the following is primarily responsible for the toughness of steel? Let's see your physics knowledge. Okay, good. The blue pen. B. 21 answer is B, carbon. I guess all of you must know at least this much metallurgy. No, answer is manganese. Carbon is for hardness, I guess. So you can understand. So this is manganese. You can check that. So the modulus of elasticity of high tensile steel is smaller than mild steel, equal to the mild steel, larger than that of mild steel, and equal to that of aluminum. So answer is equal to that of mild steel. So we will understand, because the sometimes the elasticity property will not change, beyond elasticity properties will change. Okay, let's go to the stress strain curve for ideally plastic. It's very simple. Ideally plastic, yes, answer is C. Ideally plastic, answer is C. Let's go to 24. One of the following favors a brittle fracture in the ductile material. Which one? Elevated temperature, slow rate of strain, presence of notch. So answer is circular cross section. So check this. Okay, so this, you might have understood little different these things are there, question answers are there here as compared to what we were checking in the university. Let me clear all your drawings here now. Zodia Zulwa, match the pair. See if we can match. So first we can match creep. What is creep? Amenability to go through changes in shape without rupture. So then susceptibility to define with time under sustained loading. So I guess for creep we can connect with A. So I don't know yet for the this thing. Yes. And then ultimate tensile strength. What is, how we can link to the ultimate tensile strength? Maybe tenacity, I guess. And susceptibility to fail suddenly without warning. I guess 4 is linked with the brittleness, and then ultimate tensile strength is related to B. Yes, correct. And then first part, I mean, it change shape without rupture is nothing but ductility. So by these arrows we have to find the answer. For 2A, for B it's a 3, for C it's a 1, and this. Yes, let's see answer, whether answer is B or not. Maybe, let me check. Yes, answer is B, correct. Let's go to this side. Let's go to the next question. Okay, here match the pair. Inelastic material. So we will read this part. No plastic zone. What is meant by no plastic zone? Obviously rigid plastic material. Then large plastic zone. Large plastic zone. I guess it is maybe ductile material or inelastic material. Strain is not recovered after unloading. Yes, that is called as maybe inelastic material. Strain is 0 up to the stress level. Oh, that is, I made a mistake here. So fourth one will be linked with B, that is rigid plastic. So this is wrong from my side. Strain is recovered after, that is correct. Large plastic zone, that is no plastic zone, maybe linked with brittle. Let's see if we have done correctly. So answer will be, let me check. Yes, answer is A. So that is for A, 3, correct. For B, 4, that is rigid plastic, correct. For C, 2, large plastic zone for ductile, and for D, 1, that is brittle material, no plastic zone. That is suddenly it fails. Plastic zone will not be there. Okay, good. Let's go to the next question. Maybe I will clear. So these are similar questions. I will skip some of this in the interest of time, so that you can read when I will provide this material. You can read once again some of the points. So this is how such questions are asked in GATE and competitive exams. So I will skip this part. Maybe you can see the answer, and let's go to the next similar match the pair questions are there. So I'll skip that part. And then we will start to the one more theory part. So before I start, maybe I will unmute all. Please understand I am unmuted. If you are making some other unwanted noise which we don't want to listen, you can mute again. So those who want to talk, ask. सगळ्यांचा आवाज चालू झालेला आहे. तुमचे हिडन आवाज मला ऐकू येत आहेत. तर मी रिक्वेस्ट करेन की कुणाला काही प्रश्न असतील, काय कॉमेंट करायचे असतील तर यू कॅन कॉमेंट इट. आय हॅव अनम्युटेड ऑर सगळ्यांचा आवाज सुरू केलेला आहे. कुणाला काय बोलायचं, काय फीडबॅक द्यायचा आहे, थोडंसं कसं वाटतंय मला पण कळेल. हे कुणी फीडबॅक देईल का, कसं वाटतं याच्यावर?
तुमच्या क्लासमध्ये पण जास्त नाही, पोरी आहेत बघ सगळे.
म्यूट करतो परत एकदा सगळ्यांना, काही लोकांचे अनवॉन्टेड आवाज यायले. आय विल रिक्वेस्ट यू ऑल टू गिव्ह मी फीडबॅक. ऐकायला येतंय का सगळ्यांना व्यवस्थित? बऱ्याच जणांचे आवाज चालू झालेले आहेत, आवाज चालू केलेले आहेत. गणेश बागल, आकांक्षा, समर्थकर, वृषाली शिवशरण, ऐश्वर्या पाटील, अमर कॉमेंट्स करा, काय बोलतायत का? आपण टॉपिक सुरू करायच्या आधी समजतंय का, ऐकायचं व्यवस्थित? स्नेहल चोरमले, स्नेहल राऊत, सोनाली पाटील मॅडम पण आता ऐकायला येतंय का सगळ्यांना? कळतंय का? थोडस समजतंय का? जेवढं वर्गात शिकवतो तेवढं इफेक्टिव्ह नसेल, पण कुणाला काय कॉमेंट करायचे का नसेल तर आपण पुढे टॉपिक करूया. काही जणांचे
उडलं बघा
stop
आतापर्यंत
करतात.
झूमला 300 सकाळपासून मी यूज केलं तर ते 100.
Mute
माझं पण
audio.
जाणे
Some of the audios I am not able to mute. ओके, येतंय का सगळ्यांना ऐकायला? कुणी रिस्पॉन्स? ओके, कळतंय का? थोडस पीपीटी व्यवस्थित दिसतात? बर, ठीक आहे. चला, थँक्यू जे फीडबॅक दिलेले. मला तुमचा आवाज म्यूट होण्यात झालाय. प्रत्येकाने आपला आपला आवाज म्यूट करा. काहीतरी माझ्याकडे अडचणी आलेली आहे, त्यामुळे मला म्यूट करता येईना झालेला आहे. I request all of you to mute your audios so that we can continue our session.
आवाज म्यूट करा तुमचा.
कॉल कट कर, आवाज ऐकू आला.
समर्थ
ओके, आता येतील मला म्यूट ऑफ.
समर्थ म्यूट.
ओके, गुड, थँक्यू. थोडस पाटील मॅडम, काय ऐकलं असलं तर फीडबॅक द्या. आवाज व्यवस्थित येतोय का? आमच्या कोऑर्डिनेटर आहेत पाटील मॅडम. अजून कोण आलेलं आहे?
हॅलो सर.
हा,
हॅलो सर, भागानगरी सर.
हा सर, हाऊ इज ऑडिओ? इज इट गुड? पोचतंय का व्यवस्थित? ठीक आहे. I will continue for the next topic. Hello. You can give me a message now. I have started again in chat window whether my voice is coming or not. Okay, Jitendra Patil has given video quality, audio quality, all are good. Thank you, Jitendra. Prashant Mali said no problem, all done, sir. Good. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Chalo, please keep giving feedback to me in this thing chat room. Otherwise, I will feel isolated. मला वाटतं मी एकटाच बोलत राहील, माझ्या घरचे मला हाकलून देतील. चला, please keep commenting in the chat room. So let us continue for the next topic so that we can cover at least this part today. So elastic constants and their relationship. So this is another important point we will cover here. So let's see what is there. Elastic constant, as you know, Young's modulus, it is nothing but the ratio of stress to strain, for actually direct stress to direct strain within the limit of proportionality. Please understand, yeah, it is not within elastic limit. And this another next point is very important, that is the sum of the Young's modulus. You'll have to remember so that you get the idea about the behavior of structure. You have to understand generally whatever materials we use, metals, etc. So highest Young's modulus is of steel 200 GPa, aluminium around 70 GPa. Why I'm saying around? Because as composition of material changes, exact material property values will be different. So that's why I am telling this. Okay, then copper 120, diamond you understand around 1200 GPa. It's a quite high. Modulus of rigidity. So please understand notation sometimes for modulus of rigidity. It is C, N or G. It is nothing but ratio of shear stress to shear strain. Then bulk modulus, it is another. So there are three modulus of elastic constant. One is Young's modulus, modulus of rigidity, and bulk modulus. When a body is subjected to like and equal direction stresses along the three mutually perpendicular direction, the ratio of direct stress to corresponding volumetric strain is called as modulus, bulk modulus. So you can understand when we apply same amount, so sometimes it is called as a hydrostatic pressure. So equal amount of pressure from all the directions, such pressure divided by volumetric strain. And what is volumetric strain? Change in volume per unit original volume. Change in volume per unit original volume is nothing but volumetric strain. Let's go to the lateral strain. Lateral strain and longitudinal strain. Whatever we have seen here, it is usually called as a longitudinal strain. So the strain along the direction where force is applied. So suppose this is my rod, and if I apply the strain in this direction is nothing but longitudinal. But because as I am pulling this in a tensile, then there will be compression on other two ends. One is in y direction and z direction, and that strain is called as a laterals. When structure is subjected to axial load, besides strain in axial direction, there will be lateral strain of opposite nature. Please understand, opposite nature means in the one direction of interest, if I apply the tensile, other two direction it will create compression. In the one direction, if I apply compression, other two direction it will create tensile, and of course in the right angles. And from that, what we got is called as a Poisson's phenomena. Poisson is scientist name. So Poisson's phenomena, and then from that we get some definition is called as a Poisson's ratio. The ratio of strain in a lateral direction to that of the axial direction is defined as a Poisson's ratio. So you can see mu is equal to minus lateral strain by linear strain. Why minus is given? So because when we apply the compression, other side it will be tension. So signs are positive by negative or negative by positive, and that's why that always that ratio sign will be minus, and then multiply minus, you will get answer as a positive answer. Okay, and then you can see the maximum possible value of Poisson's ratio is 0.5 for ideal elastic incompressible material whose volume strain is 0. So, and then you can understand the you can remember some of the Poisson's ratio, because sometimes it may be asked in the exam as a MCQ. For the cork material, Poisson's ratio is 0. So what is meant by Poisson's ratio 0 means if I apply axial force, nothing will happen to the other two direction. So I guess we can conclude with that in that manner. Concrete 0.1 to 0.2, for glass 0.2 to 0.27, for cast iron it is 0.2 to 0.3, for steel 0.27 to 0.3, aluminium 0.33, for brass 0.34, for gold 0.44, and as we see rubber, for rubber material it is 0.5. So usually when we deal with metals, we take around 0.3, and when we deal with concrete, we take somewhere around 0.15 to 0.2 as a Poisson's ratio. If we don't know Poisson's ratio, if you know, it's well and good. We can assume for metal usually as a 0.3, and for concrete you can assume it as a 0.15 or 0.2. Then I guess last semester I was teaching in I don't know other class, but this ECK relation or EZK relation we can say, and mu relation. So you can see this E is equal to, so instead of remembering this, it's a very easy to remember. G is equal to if I the relation to remember, G is equal, I will write here by annotation, and you should remember that it's a very easy. So for G is equal to, it is E divided by 2. Oh, so E divided by 2 into, okay, it's not working. So please remember, it's a G is equal to E divided by 2 into 1 plus mu, is very easy to remember, and K is equal to E divided by 3 into 1 minus 2 mu is the relation. And this relation also you should remember, because for competitive exam you cannot waste your time in deriving. So all such formulas for my gate, I remember I had mugged, or maybe somehow I had remembered 400 to 500 formulas and around 400 to 1000 different values and keywords. So that much you should have all these things in back of mind while remembering. If you link it with its a physical things, then it will be easy. And you also should know that for isotropic material, E will have highest value by typically by for 0.25 for isotropic material. E will highest value. Thereafter K is, I have derived in next slides how it comes, and then G or C will have highest value. Okay, then for the isotropic material, elastic constant. So this is another question usually asked. This is the advanced part which you have not studied. I have copied this for your reference, how these constants are there, but sometimes these questions are asked. As I told you, there are 3 types of material we from the based on the isotropy nature. One is isotropic material. The number of independent elastic constants are 2, that is E and mu. For orthotropic material, these are 9, and for anisotropy there will be 21. So now we have covered theory part. For this, let us take question answers related to that and understand. So independent number of elastic constant for completely an isotropic elastic material following the Hooke's law is, just now we have seen answer was 2. Then for non-divalent material, the maximum value of Poisson's ratio is, so you remember it will be highest value, it is 0.5. Okay, then the shear modulus of most of the material with respect to modulus of elasticity. Shear modulus of most of the material, you can derive it, how it answer comes. If you don't get clear why this answer comes, the answer is less than half. So if you derive it by taking maybe 0.3, mu is equal to 0.3, somewhere I have derived, I will show you that. Then a given material has a Young's modulus E, modulus of rigidity and Poisson's ratio as a 0.5, then the ratio of Young's modulus to modulus of rigidity of this material. So here it is asked modulus of ratio of Young's modulus to modulus of rigidity, that is E by G ratio. So it is 2.5. How answer comes, I have derived here. So as I told you, G formula, what is G formula? Actually G is equal to E divided by 2 into 1 plus mu. Okay, and then E is equal to 2 into, we have to put this as a 1 plus 0.25, and then you get E by G as a 2.5. Okay, let's go to the next question here. In a experiment, it is found that the bulk modulus of material is equal to its shear modulus. What is meaning that? G is equal to K. If G is equal to K, then what is Poisson's ratio? Very interesting question. Such questions we have not studied in our university setup. So this kind of question answer is very important. So I'm deriving here. So what is given? G is equal to K is given. And from that, we have to find out Poisson's ratio. So this is the formula for K, E divided by 3 into 2 mu. This is the formula for G, E divided by 2 into 1 plus mu. And then you have to equate k is equal to g. I have equated e get cancelled, and if I rearrange, you will get the answer as I guess mu is equal to 1/8 answer you will get, which is nothing but 0.125. Similarly, the ratio of Young's modulus to modulus of rigidity. Young's modulus to modulus of rigidity. What is meant by that? That is E by G for Poisson's ratio 0.2. So similar to this, instead here answer question 0.25 was there, here 0.2 is there, and check what you get this answer, that is 12/5. And then next, material for the rubber Poisson's ratio is 0.5. Already we have seen this. This is very easy. So I will wait for your answer. 8th question, relation between three elastic constants. I'm taking pause so that I can get little break. I'm continuously talking from last almost 1 hour 40 minutes. Answer very easy. Okay, that 0.5. Yes, so this is E is equal to 9kc by 3k into c. So here the derivation of whatever previous one I have done for 7th problem, actually when mu, that is Poisson's ratio, is 0.5, how the volumetric strain becomes 0, that I have tried to derive here. If you see this derivation, I will highlight. With Poisson's effect, the strain comes as a sigma x by E, mu into this one, and if you substitute here, epsilon x comes 0. Similarly, epsilon y also comes 0, epsilon z also comes 0, and epsilon v, that is volumetric strain, is equal to epsilon x plus epsilon y plus epsilon z, that is equal to 0. Sometimes this part, that is sigma z, is ignored. In that case also, if you keep this 0.5, if you add this three strains, answer will come as a 0. Okay, next question. That is, for any structural material, the value of Poisson's ratio is always, we have studied, very easy answer. I will wait. 0 to, oh, someone wrote 0 to 0.05. 0 to 0.5. Answer, correct answer is, I guess, 0 to 0.5. Correct. So next, for the structural steel, relative magnitude of 3 modulus of elasticity ECK. So which one will be highest? Of course, you have to understand E is the highest. Whether answer is A, let us check. So answer is C. E is the highest, then K, and then comes C. So you have to remember, modulus of Young's modulus will have highest value. Modulus, then next highest is modulus, bulk modulus, and the lowest one is modulus of rigidity. You may ask, answer, can you prove it, sir? Yes, I have proven it here. Maybe let me clear annotations. Okay, so you see here, I have derived it. 0.3 I have taken, I have kept it here as a 0.3, and I get E divided by 1.2. That is, relation between K and E is 0.83. And then if we take similarly for the G, it comes as a 0.384. So you can see E is the highest, then K is 0.83 of E, and C is 0.384 of E. So this is how you can also do the scribbling on your notebook and get answers. But usually for such repeated type of questions, you should remember so as to save in the exam time. Okay, ratio of bulk modulus to Young's modulus is about more than 1/3. So bulk modulus to Young's modulus. So you can see here K by E, it is 0.83. So I guess answer is correct, C. And then here, this is a simple formula, so we can skip that part. So whatever we have seen now, we have another 20 minutes. So let us take the numerical type of questions. Those are asked in the exams. Okay, now I will request not to do scribbling so that I can discuss here. Okay, for a circular rod of 10 mm diameter, you can take pen, paper and start doing calculations instead of writing this question answers. I'm repeating again all these material, whatever from where we have copied. So this material will be immediately shared. It's a link I will share on our WhatsApp group. From there, you can download that PDF file. If you are interested, next time before coming to class you can study and come. That will say make more understanding, or after our discussion you can see those notes and try to solve again. A circular rod of 10 mm diameter is tested for tension, and it is observed that when tension was 11 kilonewton, the total extension on 300 length was 0.3, and from that Young's modulus. It is very easy. So you know the change in length is PL by A, and from that you have to convert E is equal to PL by A into del, and if you substitute P is nothing but 11 kilonewton, L is 300 A is 78.53 for which one? 10 diameter, and then change in length is 0.2. And if you do all this calculation, it comes as a 210 kilonewton per square. So this is the answer. So you can see that. Okay, next question. If modulus of rigidity is 80 kilonewton per square and bulk modulus is 140 kilonewton per square, what is the Poisson's ratio? So if you can directly remember this relation, it is very good. If you don't remember, you can write it separately. It will take little time. But if you know directly this relation, if you substitute value, answer comes as a 0.26. You can try it by doing this. And if you don't know this direct notation, you know the relation of K, you know the relation of Z, and take ratio. Okay, similar to Poisson's ratio, here is match the pair is there. I will you can see for concrete, usually we have seen it is around 0.15. We will match the pair. Let's take little break and match the pair. So someone can help me. Concrete, I guess 0.15. Cork, do you remember? 0. Rubber, exactly 0.5. And isotropic material, somewhere around 0.25. It was around 0.2 to 0.3. So I guess this way, if we do, so you can see the answer is nothing but this. Is it correct? So for A, it is a 2, correct? And for B, it is a 1. For C, it is a 5, and D, it is equal to 3. So you can see here, sometimes match the pair becomes difficult because it is 4 to 5 relation. Okay, let's go to the next question. Okay, what is there? If given material E is equal to 2G, E is a modulus of elasticity and G is a modulus of rigidity of material, then bulk modulus K will be. So what will be the bulk modulus? If E is equal to 2G, K is bulk modulus. So if you do that, answer is E by 3. So I guess we have maybe I have derived, and this is very simple. But volumetric strain is nothing but sum of all the 3 strains. Maybe for this derivation I have done. Maybe next slide. Okay, so next question is numerical type of question. You can see a steel bar of volume 8000 cc, that is cubic centimeter, is subjected to all round stress of 1330 kg cm square. Sometimes you are not good with such notation, other units, but you should understand the relation between units. The bulk modulus of the material is 1.33 into 10 raised to 6 kg per cm square. The volume change, so you can see the K, that is bulk modulus, is equal to direct stress divided by volumetric strain. So that is sigma divided by epsilon V, where epsilon V is a change in volume divided by original volume. So you get this V on top, and then if you rearrange, you bring del V this side and K here. So finally you will get the change in volume is equal to sigma into V by K. And if you substitute sigma, everything is in kg/cm, so you don't have to keep on changing the converting it into different unit. It may take a lot of time. You keep same unit because answer also you want in cc only. So you can see sigma and K have same units, so units get cancelled. You have to ensure sigma and K you have units, and volume comes as a 8 cc. So answer is 8 cc. Next question, again related to elastic constants, are there little difficult. These are called as a level 2 questions. A square bar of certain material with 4 centimeter wide is subjected to pull up 60 ton, whereby the material extension is 0.1 centimeter in length of 200 centimeter. If the Poisson's ratio is 1/4, find the rigidity modulus of material in kg per cm square. So how do we do that? So you know the Young's modulus to modulus of rigidity, one relation is required, and then del L, change in length. So in this, by using this relation, you compare both. From this you get one Young's modulus relation, and from this you get one Young's modulus relation, equate, and what you want answer is C, and convert it into C form. So please understand what I have done here. So I took E is equal to this relation, and then del L is equal to this relation, and in this what is common is E, or you can put that common part here, and then if you rearrange C value, if you substitute all this, you will get answer as a 0.8 into 10⁶. So you can try this after this lecture. Next question, I will be explaining it and you can practice it so that you will enjoy whatever you are doing. Then a bar of 4 centimeter in diameter is subjected to an axial load of 4 ton. The extension of the bar over a gauge length is 20 centimeter, is 0.3. Sorry, I missed it. Okay, this. A bar of 4 centimeter diameter is subjected to an axial load of 4 ton. The extension of the bar over the gauge length of 20 centimeter is 0.3 centimeter. The decrease in diameter is 0.0018 centimeter. The Poisson's ratio is, please understand what is happening. Because of tension, compression is happening and the diameter is decreasing. So what is we have to use Poisson's formula, that is a lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain. In this case, longitudinally change in length by original length, whereas laterally change in diameter by original diameter. So a change in diameter is this, original diameter is this, change in length is this, original length is this, and then if you solve this in calculator, you will get this answer. Okay, so then next problem is a steel rod of circular section tapered with 2 centimeter diameter and to 1 centimeter diameter over a length of 50 centimeter. If the modulus of elasticity of material is 2 into 10⁶ kg per centimeter square, then increase in length under pull of 3000 kg will be. Please understand here, you have to take same formula, change in length is equal to PL by A. But for the tapered bar, there is a area equivalent is equal to, you have to remember this formula. Area for the tapered bar is pi/4 d1 into d2, pi/4 d1 into d2. And if you substitute all these values here, you will get this answer. Here what is new for you is this area equivalent formula for the tapered bar. If you want how this formula area equivalent comes, you Google it, you will get that answer. Next, a cylindrical bar of 20 diameter and 1 meter length is subjected to tensile test. Its longitudinal strain is 4 times than that of lateral strain. If the modulus of elasticity is this, then the modulus of rigidity is. So Young's formula, sorry, Young's modulus versus modulus of rigidity relation you should know. Poisson's effect you should know, that is lateral strain divided by longitudinal strain, and it is relation is given. What is given this relation? It's a longitudinal strain is 4 times. So if you put that value, that will come as a Poisson's ratio will be 1/4, that is 0.4. Sometimes it will not be given in a direct form. So you have to read it carefully. We become slowly ignorant. Actually, self-reading skill we have to develop if we have to qualify in the competitive exam. Sometimes as we do lot of teaching, etc., we don't oh, oh. Okay, now visible. Sorry, screen share was paused. uh, Now I guess it's visible. Thank you, someone has brought to my notice. Okay, so the cylindrical bar of 20 diameter one. So here you can understand the Poisson's ratio is 1/4 of 0.25, and then once you know the Poisson's ratio, you know the Young's modulus, you substitute and get this answer. So that way you can solve. Let's see what is the next question. So short cast iron column carries a load of 50 ton. If original diameter is 8 centimeter, Young's modulus is this, Poisson's ratio is this, the increase in diameter in centimeter would be. So you can understand that it is a compressive stress, so there will be increase in diameter. So we have to calculate linear strain. What is the linear strain? It will be P/A is a stress and divided by Young's modulus is strain. So P is given, cross sectional area is given, and divided by Young's modulus you will get linear strain. Then lateral strain, you have to multiply it by Poisson's ratio, you will get the lateral strain. Another formula for lateral strain is change in diameter to the original diameter. Original diameter is given, you have to find out change in diameter. So this is how. So I will repeat again. So first you calculate lateral strain, and then use that lateral strain and multiply by Poisson's ratio, because lateral strain to lateral strain to longitudinal strain is equal to Poisson's ratio, and from that you get lateral strain. And there is another formula, change in diameter to original diameter, and from that you get the change in diameter. Okay, let's go to next slide. Okay, this is related to sphere. Okay, so a spherical ball of 20 meter cube is placed under certain liquid where the ball is subjected to uniform hydrostatic pressure of 200 MPa. If the material of the ball has a bulk modulus of elasticity as a 2.5 into 10 raised to 5 MPa and Poisson's ratio as a 0.3, then due to hydrostatic pressure, the volume of the ball changes by. So how to calculate bulk modulus is pressure applied divided by volumetric strain, and then volumetric strain is nothing but change in volume divided by original volume, and if you rearrange this comes. Though problem looks very big, this is, you can see how small its a solution is. I guess before we go to 1.3 linear volumetric changes, my time is getting over. So I will now once again unmute. I will stop screen sharing. I will take all of you request if you can share your open your mics and videos, etc. So we can have 5 minute, 4 minute, whatever remaining discussion. And I request